What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast number 4. So far, we've talked about the evidence of evolution. Today, we're going to go into descent with modification and some of the people who had theories about evolution. So let me open up my PowerPoint. Alrighty. So as this opens up, we're going to talk a little bit about descent with modification. And descent comes from the word descendant. So if you think about what your descendant is your genetic line. Okay, not just a relative. Like your aunt is not your descendant. Your mom is your descendant. Your dad is your descendant. Your grandparents, their parents, their parents, their parents, their parents, their parents, and the genetic line all the way down. You don't get any DNA from your aunts, your uncles, or your cousins. You get your DNA from your parents, from your grandparents, from your great grandparents, and so on. So that's kind of what this is talking about. So descent with modification is the passing of genes from one generation to the next with some changes. You're not exactly like your parents, but you resemble them because you share their DNA, but you get DNA from both parents and it mixes and it creates you, which is something brand new. So each generation just a little bit different. Over time, these differences accumulate, and when millions of years go by, brand new species are created. Can be created, I should say. All right. So it explains why humans share 99% of DNA with chimps. All right. I saw in some other activities, kids were saying that we evolved from monkeys and apes and chimps. We did not. Okay. We had common ancestor with them. That common ancestor does not exist today. Okay. If you look at this little tree of life here are the great apes, the chimps, about 7.8, and there's humans. About 7.7 million years ago, we had a common ancestor with them. That common ancestor does not exist today. That common ancestor is found in the fossil record. At least they think so. Right? If you look at the great apes back here, we had a common ancestor with them 7 to 8 million years ago. Orangutans back here, about 12 million years ago, we had a common ancestor with them. So we did not evolve from any of these common ancestors. Remember that. All right, so common descent means all species living and extinct have evolved from common ancestors. Again, that's why we get homologous structures. Humans did not evolve from apes. I kind of said that already, but here it is. Make sure you know that. That's very important. We have common ancestors that was neither ape nor human. It doesn't exist today. It's found in the fossil record. All right, so there's 3 guys that talked about. Can I get rid of this? This is kind of in the way here. There's 3 guys that we talk about in this topic that had ideas on how evolution occurred. Okay, one was Lamarck, Malthus, and Darwin. We're not going to get to Darwin today. I'm going to talk about these 2 guys, and then we'll be done with this video podcast. Okay, so Lamarck, he was one of the first to try to describe that organisms change over time. Okay, he had 2 ideas: use and disuse, and inheritance of acquired traits. But take note, both of these are not correct, but he tried. He's one of the first to try. Remember, back then, religion was government. If you said anything against religion, you may have gone to prison, you may have been killed, you may have whatever, put on house arrest, whatever they found necessary. So this guy, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, came out with his ideas. He said use and disuse. If you use a body part, it makes it evolve. Not using it makes it disappear. Again, it's incorrect. We don't have vestigial structures because we're not using them. Okay? Our DNA is changing, and them disappearing has no consequence on us. So they're just disappearing. It's random. All right. He's saying if you use it, it's going to evolve better. That's not true. So, for example, birds use their front limbs for flying. Well, it improves. Not true. All right. If you don't use it, your wings, which is 2 examples, right? These guys don't fly. Penguins don't fly, and neither do ostriches. But they have other adaptations, right? Their wings are designed for swimming. These don't really have wings that they use as much, but they have legs designed for running. Okay. So they have other adaptations to help them survive. But they did not lose their wings because they didn't use them. Okay. The environment they grew up in supported other traits that allowed them to survive, and the loss of flight didn't affect them. It was random. Lamarck said the structures the use of structures result in their improvement. He said giraffes have long necks because they keep stretching them. Every generation they're stretching their necks, and over time it's growing. That's not why. They believe there actually were short giraffes. They find short giraffes in the fossil record, and they believe that there was a drought at one point, and all the bushes that were low to the ground were animals were competing for them, all different types of animals. And the short necked giraffes actually got out competed and went extinct. But the high trees, a lot of the animals, the antelopes and certain animals couldn't reach them. So it led to the survival of the long necked giraffe. Again, just a hypothesis. So use and disuse now. Okay. Well, actually, still. So it goes along with this. We have a little hermit crab here, and they said that they needed it for protection, so it evolved because they were using it. But that's not why it evolved. There's a random mutation. One was born with a lot bigger claw, and it was an advantage. Because it was an advantage, it spread to the next generation and became an advantage to them. So again, it was just a random mutation that created this, and then it was an advantage, and those advantages stay because it helps them survive. It wasn't because they were using it. Lamarck didn't know that, of course. So, inheritance of acquired traits, Lamarck claimed that if a body part was altered, then it would be passed to the offspring. He did not know about genetics, okay? So, he said if you work out and gain muscle mass, your kids are going to be muscular, okay? It was disproved, all right, by other scientists of that time. They cut the tails off of mice and the female, and they cut it off the male, and the babies were still born with tails. Okay, so that his idea of inheritance of acquired traits was disproved by a guy named Weissman. He didn't know about DNA. DNA is what's passed. So that leads us into our last guy that we're going to talk about today, Thomas Malthus. He claimed that babies were being born faster than people were dying. Okay, this creates a population explosion. And because there's so many people, and it could be applied to any populations, deer, bears, it would lead to a competition for food. All right. And we don't have a lot of selecting agents, meaning the reasons we die. Famine, war, disease are only things that really were killing humans. So Darwin read the work of Malthus, saying, oh, populations have a limited amount of growth that they can have, and then it leads to a competition of food. Darwin applied, saying, hey, competition leads to the organisms with the best traits able to obtain more food than the organisms that don't have the best traits. And that is evolution. Organism, that's natural selection. That's what Darwin explained. If you have the best traits, you survive. If you don't, you get outcompeted and you die. And that's going to lead us into Charles Darwin. We are going to get into this guy. He's awesome. All right. He's one of the best scientists, best theories, best scientists, best explained, basically, of mankind. Okay. So anyway, we'll get into that later. I hope you all are doing well and staying out of trouble, and I hope you're staying safe, okay? Keep up with the work, okay? See ya. Peace.